You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4, moving forward.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Live at 4. We are following developing news. A quickly moving picture out of Washington this hour as state and local officials are reacting to President Donald Trump's freeze of federal grants and loans. It's part of a Trump administration plan to review how federal money is spent.
And this is part of a nationwide ideological purge, including programs in the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, or DEI. Our political reporter Will Keneally is at the state capitol with the latest on the impact here in Wisconsin.
Plan for the worst. That's how Governor Evers framed Wisconsin's response to President Trump announcing a freeze on federal grants and loans, writing this letter to the Trump administration, asking them to delay the implementation of this until Wisconsin can get more clarification. And the move sparked concern around the Capitol. Madison Senator Kelda Roy's telling us she's already heard from worried community members.
Just walking in here, I got a text from a friend of mine who runs a food pantry and is very panicked because they are the last line of defense for people who are hungry in our community. And without these funds, they're going to run out of food and they're not going to be able to provide food for hungry families in this country.
Roy's added that this may complicate Wisconsin's budget process as lawmakers here start to develop a spending plan for the next 2 years. Now, she also tells us that she expects the Attorney General to sign on to an interstate lawsuit challenging this order from Trump. Now, we could see this coming down in the next couple of hours here. Reporting from the state capitol, Will Keneally, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Will. We're also hearing from U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin about the pause and its effect on our state.
This is virtually a Trump government shutdown, and we're already hearing from constituents. Police departments, fire departments are wondering whether their grant funding is going to come through.
Later on Live at 4, Arman Rahman brings us reaction from Head Start, which depends on, in part, and federal funding.
And we have some breaking news now. Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway says she plans to address this topic with alders at tonight's council meeting. She released a statement just minutes ago reading in part, quote, "Right now there are many unanswered questions and we are working rapidly to make sense of the sweeping action which seems to be evolving by the hour. We will provide a more detailed update as soon as that information is complete."
Let's get a look at our first warn forecast. That wind keeps going. Here's meteorologist Jacob Montesano. Jacob?
Yeah, the wind continues to howl out here. We're seeing wind speeds up around 20 to 25 miles per hour. Those are just the sustained winds. The gusts are even higher. Taking a look at these current wind speeds right now, register at 12 miles per hour in Madison, but here on the west side, it's definitely a little bit stronger than that. How about 31 miles per hour in Monroe, 30 miles per hour in Platteville? So continuing to see very gusty winds. And as we look at the wind gust forecast, up to 40 miles per hour for parts of the area. How about 46 miles per hour further east in Waukesha? Now, taking a look at the wind advisory, it is in effect for Dodge, Jefferson, and Rock counties until 6 p.m., but obviously that doesn't mean the rest of our area won't see these windy conditions. And even after the wind advisory expires, we're going to see some breezy weather. Now, here's the good news. The winds are really fueling these temperatures, upper 40s. How about middle 50s for areas near the Mississippi River? It certainly feels very mild out here, but we're still going to see some windy conditions despite these mild temperatures. So we'll have wind gusts up around 25 to 30 miles per hour throughout the evening, and that's going to continue for the most part throughout the night. But I'll talk more in detail about the wind gusts forecast for tomorrow and Thursday, as well as show you our next chance of precipitation coming up a little bit later.
All right, thank you. Another member of President Trump's cabinet has been confirmed today. Sean Duffy will officially serve as Transportation Secretary. The former Wisconsin congressman and reality TV personality received bipartisan approval with a 77-22 vote in the Senate. At his confirmation hearing earlier this month, Duffy said he would restore confidence in Boeing, hire more air traffic controllers, cut DEI programs at the DOT, and create federal rules for self-driving cars. Now, one of the biggest beneficiaries to that overhaul would be Elon Musk. However, Duffy said that he would not give any special breaks to that tech mogul.
President Trump pardoned 1,500 people involved with January 6th on his first day in office, and 11 from right here in Wisconsin.
Today, local groups and a former Capitol police officer condemned that decision. Our Ellie LaLiberte spoke with that officer today.
Harry Dunn was a Capitol Police officer on January 6th. He says these pardons downplay the severity of that day. Dunn was among several groups, including SEIU Wisconsin and All Voting is Local Action, condemning the decision. Dunn says he wants to speak out because he believes January 6th was a threat to democracy.
They get to rewrite history, which they're attempting to do. You know, they ordered in January 6 reports and destroyed, and I think it's important to keep pushing back and letting the truth always remain and shine through all the lies and the whitewashing that they're attempting to do.
Dunn has long been outspoken about January 6th. He last visited the Badger State over the summer. Tonight at 5, hear who he's trying to reach right here in Wisconsin. Reporting at the state capitol, Elio Liberté, News 3 Now.
Now, the state's top Republicans want one of the Wisconsin Supreme Court's liberal justices to remove herself from a case about collective bargaining.
Assembly Speaker Robin Vos and Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu are calling on Justice Janet Protasewicz to recuse herself from the pending Act 10 lawsuit. Last year, a judge virtually overturned the Scott Walker law, which revoked the right of most public workers to bargain for wage increases. Republicans immediately appealed the ruling, which is now on hold. It's expected to end up before the High Court.
Now, Justice Protasewicz is the newest of the 7 justices. Her 2023 win flipped the court's control to a liberal majority. During her campaign, Protasewicz said she believes that Act 10 is unconstitutional. She even participated in protests against it and signed the petition to recall former Governor Scott Walker. Now, she previously told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that she'd consider recusing herself from any case challenging Act 10. If she does that, the court would be deadlocked 3-3 between liberals and conservatives.
Now Democratic leaders are calling on one of the court's conservative justices to recuse himself. Assembly Democratic leader Greta Neubauer and Senate Democratic leader Dianne Hesselbein released a statement saying Justice Brian Hagedorn should recuse himself because he used to work for Walker. Their statement reads in part, as former Governor Scott Walker's chief legal counsel, Hagedorn was a key drafter of this legislation. The need for recusal in this case is extremely clear.
Madison police are asking those who buy and sell online to meet in public places. This comes after a man had a gun pointed at him while trying to buy something from Facebook Marketplace. Officers responded to Westbrook Lane on the city's west side late last week. The victim was able to drive away unhurt, luckily. Now, police have not arrested anyone and say the investigation is ongoing. Still ahead on Live at 4, the controversial cabinet pick, who senators will question tomorrow.
And our Kyle Pozorski takes us to the center of Madison's labor community, why it could be torn down when we come back. Breaking news to our top story, you're getting a live look at the White House. A federal judge has just blocked President Trump's freeze on federal funding. The administrative stay pauses the freeze until Monday. We'll have more on this later on News 3 Now.
Tomorrow, senators will question Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the president's pick to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. Kennedy will first appear before the Senate Committee on Finance and then before the Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions on Thursday. RFK Jr. is one of President Trump's more controversial picks. He has floated conspiracy theories about vaccines and even petitioned the FDA to stop authorizations of COVID shots.
More Americans are worried about the economy. The Conference Board's Consumer Confidence Index has results of its latest survey out today. The index dropped nearly 5.5 points in January. That was lower than what economists were expecting. The report says most U.S. consumers are worried about inflation, which remains higher than the Fed's desired 2%.
Now, Google will relabel the Gulf of Mexico on its maps to say the Gulf of America. In a social media post, Google said it had a long-standing practice of changing names that are updated by official government sources. Google will change the name when the government database is updated. In addition, the name of Denali, America's highest peak, will be changed back to Mount McKinley. These are changes in compliance with one of President Donald Trump's executive actions, and only people in the U.S. will see those.
Rwanda is seeing an influx of refugees from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Thousands of panicked civilians are fleeing Goma. M23 rebels backed by Rwanda captured the mineral-rich city in the eastern part of the country. The Congolese government has not confirmed the rebels' takeover, but is acknowledging their presence in the city. Not too far from Goma, protests and fires broke out near several embassies, with reports of civilian and peacekeeper deaths. Top UN officials are calling for action.
Now, some scientists are warning that humanity is getting closer to what they call a global catastrophe. The decade's doomsday, as they call it, was set at 89 seconds to midnight this morning. A metaphor, of course. The University of Chicago-based nonprofit, the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, aims to show how close the planet is to reaching human extinction. The group sets this clock every year using man-made threats to measure the threat. Last year, this clock was 90 seconds from midnight, the same as it was back in 2023. Now, this is the first time that it's moved forward since then.
We set the clock closer to midnight because we do not see sufficient positive progress on the global challenges we face, including nuclear risk, climate change, biological threats, and advances in disruptive technologies.
Among the scientists, special guest Juan Manuel Santos, former Colombian president and Nobel Peace Prize laureate. He said the clock's move forward could be stopped if world leaders work together.
And let's get another look at our first warn forecast. Jacob is back inside, out of that wind.
Yeah, very, very glad I'm out of that wind, although I'll be back out in just a moment in a few minutes. But as we take a look at the three things you need to know, it is going to remain windy the next couple of days, but it will also be staying above normal through the end of the week. But by the time we get to the weekend, we are going to see some unsettled weather, some snow, and also some rain is possible. Now, as we take a look at the Dodgeville sky cam, you could see just how much wind is out there. The cam really shaking, and wind speeds up around 25 to 30 miles per hour for parts of the region, and the winds are going to remain breezy throughout the evening. But overnight, we'll see kind of a northwesterly shift in the winds, still keeping temperatures above normal, but it will cool them down just a little bit tomorrow. As we'll have highs likely in the upper 30s. But then as we get towards Thursday, we'll see the winds calm down Wednesday night, but Thursday they'll pick right back up, and this time the winds will be back out of the south, and that will allow temperatures to really warm up Thursday. Thursday will be not just the warmest day of the week, but possibly the warmest day of the year so far. Now, the good news, by the time we get to Thursday evening and Friday, the winds will be a lot calmer. Now, here's a look at the forecast for the evening. We'll have temperatures in the lower 40s, upper 30s, continuing to see clear skies, but we're going to continue to see some breezy weather. Overnight, the lows will actually be fairly mild. The average high this time of year is in the upper 20s, so these low temperatures will be above that level. We'll continue to see clear skies, and as we head into tomorrow, for the most part, we'll see partly sunny to mostly sunny skies as well. But again, temperatures just a few degrees cooler compared to today, still above that normal level. As I mentioned, the normal in the upper 20s will definitely be above that. And as we take a look at the highs going forward, 50 possible on Thursday. We also are going to see the temperatures remaining above the normal level for the weekend, but they're going to be a little bit up and down as the precipitation moves into our region. So with that weekend storm, there is one of two tracks that could happen. So this is the European model. This track brings it just to the edge of southern Wisconsin, right on that border between Illinois and Wisconsin. But for the most part, the majority of the precipitation stays south, and we're not really going to see much if the track does go in this route. And as we look at the weekend, we could see some snow in northern Wisconsin, but again, the track bringing that system mostly to the north. Could see some light snow here in southern Wisconsin, but certainly not going to see accumulation. Now, as we take a look at the GFS or American model, this does bring the system into southern Wisconsin just a little bit more, and also brings in a wintry mix. We could see some freezing rain, maybe some snow, mostly Thursday night into Friday morning, clearing out by Friday afternoon. And then the system on Saturday, the GFS model brings that a little bit further south. Now, even the more aggressive models that bring more precipitation to our area do not suggest we're going to see a lot of snowfall accumulation. So we're likely going to continue to be below average in that department.
Thank you, Jacob. The longtime site of Madison's labor community is looking to be sold and redeveloped, bringing some new life to the property.
That's right. News 3 Now's Kyle Pozorski shares some of the building's history and what the future site could look like.
Madison's labor community has called this building home since the late 1950s, but soon it could be torn down, making room for a new development on South Park Street.
David Polkonkowski gave me a tour Monday morning of the building, which has started to show its age in both design and appearance. The Madison Labor Temple Association is hoping to sell the property to be redeveloped in the growing South Park Street neighborhood. Polkonkowski says while he hates to see the building go, it is time to bring the temple up to date for the next half century.
I think the Madison community is a growing community, and the labor movement is a big part of that. And we just want to make sure that we are growing and developing and advancing not only the community, but the labor movement. And we're in a big spot here that can do that.
The Labor Temple site has been listed for an asking price of $7.9 million, including the association's desire to be a part of any future redevelopment. On Madison's South Side, Kyle Pozorski, News 3 Now.
Kyle, thank you. The property's listing also provides a concept plan to build up to 675 units in an 11-story tall building.
The Badgers are moving up in the polls, and there's a big opportunity for them to make a few statement wins on the road this week. Senior forward Carter Gilmore is the guest on this week's Wisconsin Huddle. The 17th ranked Badgers will play on the road in the next 4 of their 5 games. Wisconsin heads out west to take on Maryland tomorrow night, and then will travel south to Evanston to battle Northwestern on Saturday. Gilmore says this team is ready for any challenge.
I think we can beat any team in the country. I think we've shown it. Our offensive firepower is up there with any team in the country. When we're playing defense together as a team and following the game plan, I think our defense can be top 10 defense as well. So when you have those two things clicking on all cylinders, and when we get hot from the three-point line, especially early, we're hard to stop. So I like where we're at. We can certainly get a lot better, but I think we're at a lot better place right now than a lot of people thought we were, and I think we still got a lot to prove.
Woo, go Badgers! Wisconsin Huddle airs this Friday right after News 3 Now at 6.
And a quick reminder before we head to break, News 3 Now is once again collaborating with Babies and Beyond for this year's Community Baby Shower. We're trying to get families in Dane County all of the essentials. So today is day 2 of the event, but you have until Friday to pitch in. You can drop off your donations at Babies and Beyond on Stoughton Road. And for a full list of the items we're looking for, just head to this story on channel3000.com. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Well, if you are tired of your go-to hot dish, maybe 2025 is a year you try something new. And what better way than to start with some new recipes? Angie Horkin with the Wisconsin Beef Council is here. Hello.
I love that intro, your old hot dish.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
You can tell I'm from Minnesota.
Yes. Okay, yeah, so I picked recipes for right now that are, they use economical beef cuts, they're quick and easy, and they incorporate a lot of vegetables.
Yeah. And who doesn't love that?
Exactly, and I feel like that's kind of what I need in January. Is still, still coming off the holidays. So this first recipe you actually make in the electric pressure cooker.
Okay.
So you start with 2 pounds of stew meat. It's called an easy kung pao beef, and then all you add in is some soy sauce, honey, and purchased kung pao sauce. Oh, and then a little crushed red pepper.
Okay.
So 4 ingredients. First, it has some bite to it.
Yeah, okay.
So put that in the pressure cooker, set it to like meat or stew, 40 minutes. It'll take about an hour to build up pressure and then release pressure. And then add in a bag of frozen vegetables. And I just grabbed a bag of Japanese style stir-fry vegetables.
Easy peasy.
But, like we were talking earlier, grab whatever's in the fridge. If you got a little bit of red pepper left, a little bit of broccoli, a little bit of carrots, throw that in.
It's a great refrigerator clean out. Just do what you have and you can make something good.
And then we call that a stir fry.
Yeah. And then some, little accoutrement there, some peanuts.
And then I just served it over some really nice white rice.
Yeah.
Now the second recipe.
That looks really
good.
good.
No, let's go back to this one.
Oh, sure.
$6.40 a serving. I figured for 4 servings, which is 4 huge servings, and that's with using 2 pounds of stew meat. And this has 50.5 grams of protein per serving.
Okay. Muscle building food.
Muscle building food, right. So maybe if that's one of your New Year's resolutions, you're still lifting weights. Second recipe, yakisoba noodles with beef. Sounds fancy, but we made it with ramen noodles.
Ramen noodles. So you can buy like the little ramen things. You don't have to use the packets. You can.
You don't have to. I did. I bought the beef flavored. I sprinkled a little bit of the packet on some top round steak. Now, if you go to beeftips.com and print off this recipe. It makes enough for 8 servings, which is like twice this batch. You need a huge skillet or huge wok pan. I cut it in half and it fills my skillet.
And it's still a lot,
It's still a pound of top round, so very economical cut. Just slice that thin. Toss your top round with a little bit of that seasoning from the ramen noodle packet and then a little bit of sesame oil. Brown that up, and then I've got in here red pepper, some corn, which is a little different, garlic, ginger, the noodles, shredded carrots, and half of a bag of coleslaw.
Oh yeah,
so
that's always great.
A little cabbage in here. And then we're gonna let's top with a little green.
And I like these dishes too because you can order this from a restaurant. You'll probably pay a lot more. You don't really, you can control what you put in this, and it's cheaper.
And it makes a lot, so maybe if you're one of those people that likes to cook once, dine a couple times, perfect for planned over lunches. $7.70 per serving. That's like buying everything, not including anything that you already have in your pantry. 31 grams of protein.
Okay, good. Protein-packed
So
meals.
we're checking a lot of boxes with these recipes. Quick and easy, economical, protein-packed.
Flavor.
Vegetables, whole meals. We've got, we got it all.
And again, this is something fun for families. Like, I think kids can help out and they have a good meal afterward.
Yeah, and that's a beauty too of a stir fry. It's pretty flexible. If you've got some kiddos that might not like some of the vegetables, swap it out, make it your own.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there was stir fry sauce in here too. I forgot that.
See, that's fun. Yeah, kids eat your veggies and you get to try something new. And then have the hot dish later on.
Right. Beeftips.com, check it out. These recipes you can find by clicking on As Seen on TV. And I've got some other fun recipes, I think perfect for winter Wisconsin weather, incorporating a lot of vegetables and quick and easy and economical.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for being on with us again.
Of course.
See you soon. And we'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
We have breaking news in this hour. A federal judge has blocked President Donald Trump's widespread freeze on federal funding until Monday.
Administration officials say it was to ensure all funding complies with the president's recent executive orders. Arman Rahman spoke to local organizations before the pause was delayed about how it could affect them.
I reached out to over a dozen different agencies and organizations operating in Madison and Dane County. Representatives from those that got back to me all say they're still trying to figure out what this means for them and their work. Because the language from the Trump administration is pretty broad. Officials say they wanted to make sure federal resources aren't used to, quote, advance Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies. While a memo circulated through Head Start Wisconsin's programs that they would not be included, leaders say as of late last night they were not able to access their payment reimbursement request system. In Dane County alone, they received $14 million in federal funding.
Many of them are single source, small nonprofits, and literally need this funding to be able to pay people on Friday. Our families depend on us for childcare so that they can go to work. Many families would be at risk of losing their jobs if we had to close our program even for a short period of time.
Head Start Wisconsin serves about 15,000 kids up to 5 years old and their families with early education, health and meal support, and more. I also spoke to the grants manager at the Boys and Girls Clubs of Dane County. Find out how much they depend on federal funds and how they may be impacted tonight at 6.
Thank you, Arman. Administration officials say federal assistance to individuals, including Social Security, Medicare, and food stamps, will not be affected. And we have some more breaking news at this hour. The president has just signed an executive order aimed at curtailing gender transitions for people under the age of 19. In a statement, the president said the U.S. will not fund, sponsor, promote, assist, or support the transition of a child from one sex to another. He said his administration will rigorously enforce all laws prohibiting the procedures. And now let's get a look at our first warn forecast. Here's meteorologist Jacob Montesano. Jacob?
Yeah, we continue to see some windy conditions, wind gusts up around 30 to 35 miles per hour, even up to 40 miles per hour for some locations. Let's take a look at the wind gust forecast. Right now, 25 miles per hour in Madison. Feels like that number is a little bit low. Definitely can hear the wind behind me. How about 46 miles per hour out in Waukesha? But as we take a look at the peak wind gusts from earlier, some areas did get close to around 50 miles per hour, with everyone getting at least up into the 30s. So it has certainly been a windy one. Now, we have been completely dry. There is some snow right now in the UP of Michigan and the eastern side of the Great Lakes, but we're expected to be dry, but we also will continue to be windy. Looking at the wind gust forecast, it's going to continue throughout the evening and for the overnight hours. Now, the good news, temperatures very mild, upper 40s, lower 50s for some locations, and we're going to see temperatures similar to this on Thursday as well. So the mild weather is really not going anywhere. As we take a look at the evening forecast, it's going to remain breezy, but will also be clear with temperatures in the lower 40s to upper 30s. I'll talk more in detail about the temperature forecast and our next chance of rain or snow coming up a little bit later.
All right, thank you, Jacob. The Dane County Sheriff's Office wants the DA to charge a high school student for their role in closing down the Wisconsin Heights School District for a day. On January 24th, last Friday, they canceled all classes after receiving information about a potential threat. Now, law enforcement ultimately did not find that threat to be credible. The sheriff's office says it is referring the charge because the student created, quote, unnecessary alarm. It's now up to the DA's office whether or not to formally charge that teen. Now, Democrats and Republicans in the Wisconsin state legislature are trying to get a grip on how immigration policies are enforced in the state.
1 week ago, President Trump signed an order that would allow law enforcement to enter sensitive areas like churches, hospitals, and schools to detain immigrants. Merrill Hubbard was at the state capitol today to see how Wisconsin Democrats are responding.
Democrats introduced this bill that aims to protect immigrants who go to places like churches, schools, or hospitals from being detained solely based on their immigration status. Under this bill, law enforcement at the state and federal level would need a judicial warrant to get access to such places to detain an individual. The bill applies to all civilians and their constitutional right, protecting them from unlawful searches without a judicial warrant. Representatives and senators presented the legislation at the state capitol Tuesday morning. They emphasized the fear vulnerable individuals feel with these immigration policies in flux.
Chaos is not a safety solution. Hate is not a policy, and fear is not safety.
Kids deserve to feel safe in school. People deserve to seek medical care without fear of separation or detainment.
Representatives encouraged law enforcement agencies across the state to work with their communities to address those most affected by federal immigration policies. Assembly Speaker Robin Vos stated last week that Republicans would be writing legislation that would force law enforcement to cooperate with federal immigration officials. If Republican legislation like this is put forward, Governor Evers is almost certain to veto it. Reporting in Madison, Merrill Hubbard, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Merrill. To Wall Street now. The Dow gained 137 points today. The Nasdaq up 392, and the S&P 500 up 55.
UW-Madison says it's looking into allegations women's basketball coach Marissa Mosley and her staff mistreated a former player. Over the weekend, Ball State center Tessa Towers, who played for Wisconsin from 2022 to 2024, made a post on TikTok saying her coaches and staff ruined her freshman year and treated her like what she calls a lab rat. The Wisconsin Athletic Department released a statement reading in part, "We are aware of comments shared online by former Badger student athlete Tessa Towers, and we will be looking into this matter." While we would like to share additional context around Tessa's comments, federal privacy laws prohibit us from publicly addressing the health-related claims made on Tessa's social media account.
Well, Findorf Construction in town announced yesterday that there will be a major change headed to how the company is owned.
Jalen Banks joins us with more on the changes ahead. Jalen?
Now, you may have seen this name all throughout Madison at different construction sites. And after over 100 years of being in business for the Findorf Construction Company, major changes are headed its way and the company's ownership structure. Findorf Construction has been in business since southern Wisconsin for 135 years. The company will transition to being 100% employee-owned. The company introduced a plan that gives employees ownership through stock ownership plans and stock allocations, something their CEO feels can only benefit company culture.
We've always been supportive of our employees. A lot of our growth is based on their initiative and their growth career opportunities. Hoping this can even stimulate that even more now that they have a little more to do with that growth and success of the company.
Tonight at 6, I'll have more on the benefits this will bring for employees.
Now coming up on Live at 4, Dr. Jeff Potta from UW talks about a newly improved FDA treatment for depression.
And whether your morning coffee will help you live longer. I like the sounds of that.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. If you suffer from severe depression, you know that finding treatment can be an ongoing battle.
The FDA has expanded approval for a Johnson & Johnson nasal spray derived from ketamine to allow it to be used as a standalone treatment for patients who have severe depression.
And also, well, we can talk. Are we talking about both things, or are we tossing to our guest now? I'm new on the floor.
Hello. We'll also be talking about coffee, but we can start with the serious stuff first. Hey, Doctor.
How are you guys doing?
Good to see you.
How are
Yeah,
you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, so this ketamine-derived spray, this nasal spray, how does this help people who are suffering from depression?
Yeah, so most people who have depression or who know about depression know that the main drugs that we use to treat depression are these things called serotonin reuptake inhibitors, so normal kind of antidepressants. And some people do absolutely awesome on those medications. But some people, like, it just doesn't quite do enough. So since 2019, there's been studies looking at the use of ketamine, which is typically something we think of as, like, you know, we give kids so that we can straighten their arms. It's like an anesthetic. But at these smaller doses, it works. We don't know exactly why. It affects a different receptor in the brain. But people who don't respond to just regular medications who add on this ketamine can sometimes get remission of their depression.
Wow.
What the FDA just did a little while ago now is they said, you know what, before we always use these in combination, now they're going to allow doctors to use ketamine alone to try to treat depression. I think that'll be a less common scenario. Ketamine has more side effects. It's a little bit harder to get. I think people will still probably be on normal antidepressants, but then if you're someone who isn't doing well on that, reach out to your doctor and say, hey, talk to me a little bit about this ketamine spray. Might that be an option for me if your depression isn't well controlled?
And I thank you, Dr. Jeff Potta from UW, who I should have introduced before you began. You're wonderful, and it really is important. So many people have tried and go, well, it just doesn't work, and it is something different. So
yeah,
good to know.
Are there any risks involved? When people hear ketamine, they might
I think so. So not in this formulation. I mean, it's a nasal spray. It's a relatively low dose. Ketamine in general, you know, it's a street drug. You can get it on the street. We also use it in medicine, like, all the time for sedating people, making painful procedures not painful. It can be administered IV for depression, but in a controlled environment. So certainly not something you just want to go out on the street and find, but used under kind of these circumstances, it's pretty safe.
On a lighter note,
coffee. So hearing coffee can be good for us.
This is an interesting study. So there are all kinds of studies out there that look at, you know, how much coffee do you drink? Are there health benefits? And most of them are like, it probably leans towards there's some health benefits. This study didn't look at how much you drank. It looked at when you drank your coffee. So it looked at all these people. And this is the interesting thing. If you drink your coffee and you stop it before noon, 16% reduction all-cause mortality.
Oh my gosh.
Well, about that.
It depends on your shift, I imagine.
I work in the evening, so I get my big coffee at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, so no 16% reduction for you.
I've had a good run.
The other question I have, and I'm wondering what people have, is how much coffee, as long as I'm doing it before noon?
It didn't matter. So basically, you can drink however much you want. And it also didn't matter whether it was caffeinated or decaffeinated. So it's probably not the caffeine. What researchers have hypotheses. They say, you know, one, it could be that people who have this, like, regular daily routine where I get up, I drink my coffee, their circadian rhythm is better matched. Like, that can reduce risk of cardiovascular disease, things like that. There's this thought of, like, there's some decreased inflammatory properties of coffee. Maybe that's doing it. I think it's probably something about people who get up and drink coffee and everything else they're doing in their lives that maybe reduces that risk. So maybe you do have that benefit, even though you're not drinking your coffee before noon.
So you can have your drum of coffee and just live a long life.
I used to think, I was afraid you were going to say only 2 cups, and I think it's about 4.
Yeah, you're probably still good.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go have coffee now.
And coming up on Live at 4, Jacob has your full first warn forecast.
And later, why an image of this tiny mammal, check it out. It's exciting, I should say, scientists, and existing in California.
He's had coffee too. On the next Live at 4, the February primary just weeks away. Who's on the ballot?
Plus, how tariffs set to go into effect February 1st could affect Wisconsin's economy. Wow, did I have that?
Well, here is a live look at Catalina Island. I'd love to have my morning or afternoon coffee there.
Oh,
for being serious.
How beautiful is that shot? This is off the coast of Southern California. The temperature there, 55 degrees.
I'll take it. And it looks like the wind is not too bad.
That's what we're talking about, right? Let's get a look at your first warn forecast with Jacob Montesano out there.
The temperatures aren't that much cooler here. We're actually in the upper 40s right now in Madison. But yeah, we are seeing that wind, and we're going to continue to see that wind for the next couple of days. But we also will be staying warm, especially on Thursday. Now, by the time we get to the weekend, actually, more like Thursday night into Friday is when it will start. We'll see some unsettled weather, some rain, some snow, but at this point in time, we're not expecting a ton of precipitation. I'll talk about that in a moment, but first, taking a look at the wind gust forecast. Once again, we're going to continue to see breezy conditions throughout the night into Wednesday morning. It's not going to be quite as windy tonight and into tomorrow morning as it is right now, but still seeing those wind gusts up around 25 to 30 miles per hour. The winds will calm down Wednesday night into Thursday, but as we get into Thursday morning, that's when they're going to pick back up. But this time they're going to be due out of the south, which will really bring in those warm temperatures, as we'll see wind gusts up around 25 miles per hour, calming down for Thursday evening. So taking a look at the temperature forecast for tonight, they're not going to drop too much. We'll have lows in the 30s. The average high is in the upper 20s, so the lows tonight will be above that level. And then for Wednesday afternoon, it will be a little bit cooler than today, but still very mild for this time of the year. As I mentioned, we'll continue to be breezy as well. More lows in the lower 30s, upper 20s for Wednesday night into Thursday. And then take a look at the temperature forecast for Thursday. We're going to see 50s across much of the area. Now, you folks near the Mississippi River, you're seeing 50s right now, but almost everyone will get at least close to 50 for your Thursday. Now, as far as precipitation goes, we're looking very dry through the day on Thursday. Thursday night into Friday is when we could see some moisture move in, and we have some other chances of precipitation for Saturday and Sunday. So as we take a look at the rainfall forecast, this is the European model. It brings the Thursday night, Friday rain just to the edge of Illinois-Wisconsin border, but most of the precipitation will stay south with some small chances of snow over the weekend. But as we take a look at the GFS American model, that will bring it a little bit further north into Dane County, and also bringing a mixture of some snow with it. So even if we get the more aggressive model with more precipitation, it might get a little messy at times, but we're not expecting to see much accumulation. Certainly nothing that will stick around through next week. But speaking of next week, it is going to be colder. Highs look to be in the 20s for much of the week, with a few chances of snowfall towards the end of the week.
A big moment for the wildlife world was captured on camera alive. Mount Lyell shrew has been photographed.
Okay. According to the California Academy of Sciences, these shrews, these are interesting, are the only known mammal species in that state that hadn't been photographed before. I think they're cute.
Yeah.
A wildlife photographer and a couple of student scientists joined forces with the University of California, Berkeley's Museum of Vertebrate Zoology. And they came up with a plan. They captured a couple of shrews in the eastern Sierra Nevada mountains and took a few photos before setting the creatures free.
Looks like they don't mind being photographed.
Or free.
Yeah.
I like it. That looks
Look at
like
that pose,
snow.
that sassy little pose.
That was, knew what they were doing. All right, Jacob, we're looking at wind dying down a little.
Yeah, it's still going to be breezy throughout the night and for the next few days, but it's not going to be as bad as it is right now or as it was yesterday. But again, the winds are going to be a big driving factor in these warm temperatures, especially Thursday, where we could see a high near 50. And then over the weekend, it'll get a little bit messy. But as I just mentioned, it doesn't look like we're going to see a lot of precipitation, but it will cool temperatures down for next week. We'll be back in the 20s. But it is funny, we showed that shot from California. Usually we're a lot colder than they are, but not a big difference this time.
5 degrees.
Yeah, basically California. All right, we'll be right back. Tomorrow on Live at 4, how tariffs set to go into effect next month could affect you. And later on News 3 Now at 6, how much people hoping to attend the draft in Green Bay might have to pay for a hotel. I'm guessing it's going to be a lot. Well, thanks for watching Live at 4 today. We hope to see you back here tomorrow. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.